Good evening, everyone.
I have to wait. Oh.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The mayor has called the meeting to order. Vice Mayor Kaplan.
Here.
Councilmember De La Cruz.
Here.
Councilmember Holloway. Councilmember Kelly.
Here.
Mayor Lindsay.
Here.
Councilmember London. I know he's here. And Councilmember Tainter.
Here.
We do have a quorum and the mayor. With us this evening to give an invocation is Reverend David Moran with the Key Biscayne Presbyterian Church. Please rise.
Pray with me, please. First, we want to thank you that you love us and you promise to administrate our lives for our good and even for prosperity. We thank you for the privilege of serving, and I want to pray for the men and women in front of me, for the council, the mayor, for police, fire, all servants and administrators of the village, that you would bless them, that you would fill them with your wisdom, and that you would give them peace. We also today want to pray for rest. Some of us work harder than is good for us, and we know that along with many of your gifts, resting is one of them. Give us rest. Let us rest when we need it in your love. And we do pray in your name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Please remain standing for the pledge.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First item on the mayor is brief comments by council.
Sure. Any comments? I have a couple. One on a light note, Taste of Paradise, promotion being run by the Chamber of Commerce and by many of our restaurateurs has kicked off, and I urge everyone to participate and go to our wonderful neighborhood restaurants and taste their fare. Go out and try something new. This promotion will be going on from the October 9th through the 25th, so please take advantage of it. It's a wonderful opportunity, and we thank you all for participating. Secondly, I'd like to thank Dr. Kelly. He will be participating as a speaker tomorrow evening. He is pinch hitting, and I appreciate you going to the Homeowners Association. And last, I wanted to give a brief update of what's transpired in the last week and a half, with a slight update on the Marine Stadium Park litigation. As you all know, until recently we were engaged in the mediation process. I was tasked as the point person for mediation due to sunshine law constraints, and because the mediation process is confidential, we have been unable to give you substantive updates to give you all substantial updates. I would like to provide everyone with a very general overview of what has transpired. After 7 mediation sessions and countless hours of deliberations, it became clear about 10 days ago, or actually about 7 days ago, that we had reached an impasse. Although we had made progress, it is my view that the city of Miami introduced certain untenable terms at the 11th hour, and we arrived at a point where we could no longer rely on a neighbor's ability to be a trustworthy partner. And what presented the greatest challenges at the end of the day was that our core values, the ones this village espouses and the city of Miami's, were not aligned. The city places high value in the public use of public waterfront land and parkland, and we recognize that the Marine Stadium property was entrusted to the city of Miami for public use as evidenced by the deed restrictions and the Virginia Key Master Plan. The city, on the other hand, finds value in maximizing revenue and commercializing the property contrary to the deeds and the will of the public. That is generally why the mediation broke down. And I also want to address and clarify some confusion with scheduling towards the end of last week. In an effort to do things in real time and get information out there and give everyone a forum, I acted too quickly. We scheduled and attempted to schedule a series of meetings, and even before we had a proposed settlement, but also trying to work with the notice issues and trying to coordinate in real time, it did not work out well. So please accept my sincerest apologies. It was done really with the utmost in goodwill and trying to act transparently, and also trying to support what this council is very clear and very serious about, which is advancing the public process. So it was not executed as well as it could have been, but the intentions were good, and my apologies to everyone for any kind of, confusion or frustration that this may have caused. And that is pretty much it.
One thing, Myra?
Yes.
Our mayor has an early flight tomorrow. I hope we can move through the agenda this evening with dispatch so that she can get home.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Is that it?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, the next item of the mayor's special introduction. We have with us this evening Bill Baggs, Park Manager, Art Yerian, who will present to the council a $50,000 check on behalf of the Florida Department of Environmental Protection for a FRDAP grant to be used to improve the village green. Mr. Manager.
Mayor, if I may, I would like to do a short biography. Mr. Yerian, come up to the podium, please. Prior to coming to the Bill Baggs Cape Florida State Park, Mr. Yerian was the District 5 Assistant Bureau Chief overseeing state parks from the Fort Pierce Inlet State Park to Fort Zachary Taylor Historic State Park in Key West. In addition, he was the park manager at Homosassa Springs Wildlife State Park for 16 years and receiving over $4.5 million in grants and donations for that park. These funds resulted in a considerable increase in attendance and revenues at the park. Art also has served as a board member of Citrus County's Tourism Development Council for 7 years. Before coming to Homosassa Springs, Art served as the general manager of Flamingo Gardens Botanical Gardens and the Everglades Wildlife Sanctuary and Florida's Cypress Gardens. Mr. Yerian.
Thank you. Good evening, and thank you, council members, for allowing me to present this important grant to your community. I am, like you said, Art Yerian, the park manager at Bill Baggs, Cape Florida State Park. The Department of Environmental Protection is proud to administer a program called the Florida Recreation Development Assistance Program. This program is a competitive grant program that funds the acquisition or development of lands for public outdoor recreational use. This year, we are very proud that we were able to invest more than $5.4 million in 110 development projects throughout Florida. Today, I have the honor of presenting to you and your community a Florida Recreation Development Assistance Program grant check for $50,000 for the Village Green Park Phase 2. These funds will pay for picnic facilities, soccer field, multi-purpose trail, performance areas, parking, landscaping. Congratulations on this grant award. I look forward to joining you again as we celebrate the progress on this important project. And if you don't mind, can we take a photo?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you.
If I may have the Recreation Director step forward, please. This department's becoming profit-making versus BZP.
Mayor, would you like to join me?
Would everyone like to stand up and participate in this photo?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's not a DraftKings check.
Next item of the mayor is public comments. We do have a few speakers signed up.
We do. I will be starting with Kristen Guess.
Hi, good evening. I am here on behalf of Brett Moss initially, who would like to address you this evening. He'll be here around 9 o'clock, but he wrote me an email and asked me to just read it to you. Brett Moss, 731 Crandon Boulevard, apartment 408. Thank you, Council Member De La Cruz, for adding the discussion item regarding KBCS to the agenda tonight. I apologize that I'm unable to be present during the public comments. However, I asked Kristen to speak on my behalf. It is important that our elected leaders in our community recognize the overcrowding at KBCS. Our community school is serious and must be addressed. The education compact between the Village and Miami-Dade school districts supports the collaboration and exploration of public-private partnerships for appropriate facility capacity, as well as adequate parking, drop-off, recreational facilities, and to ensure that the school's capacity is in line with our population trends and projections. A friend of mine made a point to me earlier that I quote, "The K-8 overcrowding is a deeper issue, more than just adding more classrooms. And because of this, it is important for our community to discuss this issue holistically in order for it to be a success. It is imperative that these discussions should be inclusive of all stakeholders who can sit together and have an open and mature conversation about the needs of our KBCS school. I look forward to your discussion tonight and hope that we can improve our community school together." That's what he wrote, if you need a copy of it. But I'd also like to add, using my own words, that those deeper issues, obviously they're vast. Everything that goes on in this school affects our whole community. I just want to strongly encourage the council and the community to keep KBCS always in the forefront of your thoughts and discussions. We have a lot of discussions about dogs, the community center, and that overlaps with what's going on at the school. And I'd like for the school to get the same amount of consideration, and it's very important, and it affects, there's over 1,400 kids there now, so all those families concerned. Everything we talk about in this community, the school should always be considered, without a doubt. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Martin Margulies?
Good evening, Ms. Mayor, council members.
Evening.
I've come up here today to talk about the boat show and all the litigation going on.
Mr.
And
Margulies?
these are my observations.
Excuse me, can you state your name and address for the
My name
record?
is Martin Margulies, 445 Grand Bay Drive. I've been a resident here for 18 years. First of all, if you win this lawsuit, you've got $28 million in reserve, and it's still there. If you lose this lawsuit, you still got $28 million in reserve. If you make a settlement, you don't have any money now. They take all the 28 plus. My experience with the city of Miami is as follows. The CRA is a city agency, which is the task that they have is to handle slums, blight, and affordable housing. What does the city do? They vote to give $88 million to a shopping center developer with a Macy's, and it's called the Miami World Center. If you get into this agreement with the city, you will be in litigation for the rest of your life because they have no regard for an agreement. I must say, from my observation, the city of Key Biscayne, or the Village of Key Biscayne, is a very, very honorable group of people that serve. And while they may have differences of opinion, they're basically honest viewpoints. In the city of Miami, everything is up for grabs. You could see where someone running for office now has raised over $600,000. And the reason is the developers have to pay them in order to get what they want. The developers, the billboard companies. This is a clean village. You should not be a partner to people like this. You will regret it, because anything in writing has nothing to do with the realities. Once they get the agreement, you're going to be arbitrating, you're going to be manipulated, And I say, take your chances and don't get involved with these people. Thank you very, very much, and all the best of luck to you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Robert Neck?
My name is Robert Necht. I live at 1121 Crandon Boulevard. I've spoken before about the burying of electrical utilities, and that's my topic again tonight. I spoke to my sister-in-law in Cutler Bay about the subject recently. It turns out that 2 weeks ago, she got a letter from Florida Power and Light announcing that they would be undergrounding the power lines in her community, single-family homes. So, and she's, a good friend of hers is recently high up in Florida Power and Light, and she mentioned it to her, and the information coming back was, they've done a study, and it's in their interest to underground the utilities because of all the money they save. So please pursue that option, and thank you for your service. I know you spend a lot more time than you do in the public.
Thank you very
You'll
much.
have in front of you the letter that Mr. Neck brought regarding the power lines.
Excellent, thank you. Krista DeCastro?
Son.
Krista, would you like your daughter to join you?
Hi, Krista DeCastro. We live at 115 East Enid. We've lived here for about 4 years, and I'm thrilled that we made the decision to move to Key Biscayne. But the school, and we really moved here for the school. We were looking for a community, really, that has a good public school that's close to work, and we found this gem, and I think it's amazing, but the school has a real problem. Our first year, Kayla was in first grade, and her classroom was literally the PE office. It wasn't even a classroom. They just put desks and chairs there and called it a classroom. And my daughter now, who's in first grade, last year, she ended up being in that same PE room. And it just goes to show that there's a severe overcrowding problem at the school, and it really needs to be addressed. And I hope that the council and everybody really in the community will put some thought and effort and real energy to dealing with that problem, because it's important. And to have a good community, you have to have a great school. I don't think you can get around that. I also wanted to talk about two other things. One is flooding, because just on the way here, it looked like we were in the ocean. So I think that should be, something that the council really puts on the front burner, because we're going to be under the ocean very soon with sea level rise issues. And the third was traffic and the kids walking to and from school on Crandon Boulevard. And we walk to and from school every day. We've been doing it for 3 years, and it's just very dangerous. Some cars don't stop, sometimes they do. Sometimes one car stops and the other one doesn't. And I think there could be lights, there could be more stop signs or something in the roads to make it safer for the kids during the times that they walk in the morning and at dismissal. That's it, thank you.
Thank you very much. And just as a commentary, we recently received, $800,000 to $1 million in federal funds to make a safe route to school, so you will be seeing improvements.
Thank you.
Anna Dick?
Hi, my name is Anna Dick.
Take a deep breath. Deep breath. Okay, let's go.
I go to KBCS. My class has 32 students and 1 teacher. Since September, we've got 3 new students. It is hard to work in this environment. And that I hope and I hope that the village council will work with the district to build us a new building.
Thank you. And now for the tree. Julie Dick.
Good evening, Mayor Lindsay and council members. Thank you, Councilmember De La Cruz, for putting the discussion on the school on the agenda tonight. My name is Julie Dick with 151 Crandon Boulevard.
Thank you.
The overcrowding at the school has been part of the history of the school since before I moved to the Key 5 years ago. But the first year we were here, my daughter was in a very crowded classroom, and I became engaged in this issue. And soon after that, mass came online as an option, and we had the middle school built there. And part of the idea behind that is we would get some relief, but I don't know that it was ever really understood that it would provide all the relief to the overcrowding that we really needed. And what's actually happened since Mast was built is that more people have come to Key Biscayne, because now we have a great K through 12 education in the public school system available to residents of this community, and the demographics are changing. So while there are students at Mast now, the population of students overall in the public school system has increased dramatically, and that trend continues. So Mast has not resolved the issue. We've actually had a growing population at the school since Mast was built. Last year, we didn't push too hard on this issue because the year before we worked really, really hard on this through the school and through the PTA, and trying to get the PTA and the village to work together. And honestly, the political appetite wasn't there until Mast was built, because the solution was always, Mast will take care of it. Mast is built. It hasn't taken care of the problem. We've known that from the beginning, but it's an existing, ongoing problem, and it needs to be solved by collaborating with the district, as we did with Mast, to get Mast built. And I think that there's staff there, and there are council members on this council, Kaplan, Frank Kaplan, and Luis de la Cruz, and Ed London have all offered support and put efforts into this. And I think it's something that everyone needs to work together with to make happen.
Let me ask you a question. How many students are in the 6th grade at the K through?
I have the roster at home. I don't have it with me,
More or
so
less,
I don't know offhand. But it's not. I think we're over 350 over the student population. It's probably around 100 something. So it's not. And 7th and 8th grade have still stayed at the school, and we don't have room at Mast for all the middle school, so we need both schools. So it's not like once 6th grade opens up, the whole problem is resolved there. So I hope this is a good discussion tonight and the beginning of real effort and collaboration to start working towards a solution.
You going to stick around?
Thank you.
I don't watch from home. I got to get home and do homework, but thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We are done with our public comments.
Next item, Madam Mayor, is agenda approval, deferrals, additions, deletions, substitutions, withdrawals.
Yes, Dr. Kelly.
I just wanted to change my motion 11A5 from a motion to a discussion item.
Which was it?
11A5 about remove and replace special counsel.
Thank you.
Mayor, if I may, I would like to pull item 10C.
Fair enough. And I would like to add a discussion item under Mayor and Council about prioritizing our legislative priorities on the state level.
That would be 11A9.
Excellent. Any other additions, changes, deletions?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item, Madam Mayor, is the approval of the minutes of the September 23rd, 2014 second budget hearing.
Moved.
Second.
This is a real blast from the past.
Jim?
Please call the question. Jim, did you have any change?
I had already discussed it with the clerk.
Okay.
A couple of items that just need to be corrected.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Well, can I vote?
You can, even though you were not here.
I wasn't here.
Right. I don't know what the attorney's opinion is.
to approve the minutes. Okay, I vote to approve the minutes.
Thank you. So motion carries. The next item is to approve the September 18, 2015 special council meeting.
Move. Second.
Any comments, changes?
All
Please
those in
call the vote.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The next item is the approval of the minutes of the September 21st, 2015 second budget hearing.
Move. Second.
Please call the question.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The next item is the approval of the minutes of the September 28, 2015 continuation second budget hearing.
Move. Second.
Question?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The next item is a resolution of the Village of Key Biscayne, Florida, supporting the creation of the South Florida Mayor's Beach Alliance, directing the village clerk to transmit a copy of this resolution to the Board of County Commissioners of Miami-Dade County and all the member municipalities of the South Florida Mayor's Beach Alliance, and providing for an effective date.
Move. Second.
It was Councilmember Kelly? Thank you.
Just a little background on this. A South Florida Mayor's Beach Alliance was created by Mayor Levine from Miami Beach. The idea is to create strength in numbers with all the coastal communities, to find, to band together to achieve better policy making on both the state, the federal, and the local level, to find funding sources, and to also find sand sources and come up with a better comprehensive plan. Currently, there are tons of gaps. We are in fact not included in the beach renourishment planning in Miami-Dade County. We need to change that. We have the attention of the mayor, and I suggest we work together. I wanted to bring this to your attention. This is also aligned with our strategic planning and our priorities that we voted on 2.5 years ago. And as we all know, it is critical. It's our first line of defense for, in the case of hurricanes and storms and sea level rise. It is great for our community, and I wanted to bring it to your attention and get some kind of support.
You got it.
Let's vote.
Yes, Jim?
Myra, I noted the list of towns or villages, cities in this alliance. Is that all of them up and down for Dade County that are on the beach?
I actually
I
believe
think it is, but I don't know.
City of Miami is missing
But, well,
for Virginia Key.
yeah.
City of Miami is missing. Every other community is involved.
Okay.
This will strengthen the ad hoc Mayor's Alliance that started in 2010. Curiously, and that's a really good group, and it included all of the municipalities with the exception of Miami Beach and the City of Miami. Why the City of Miami doesn't participate in these things is a mystery, but we'll get ours and we'll worry about it. But we should do this.
Well, great. Please call the question.
All those in favor of approving this resolution?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you all.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Bless you.
Next item is a resolution of the Village Council of the Village of Key Biscayne, Florida, adopting an environmentally preferable purchasing program, providing for authorization and providing for an effective date.
Move. Second.
Mayor and council, if I may, it is recommended that the Village Council approve the attached resolution adopting an environmentally preferable purchasing program. The Green Committee recommended 9 action items in the Key Biscayne Sustainability Plan that was presented to the Village Council on May 27, 2015. Action item number 4, green procurement, encourages the village to use environmentally friendly and non-toxic products and to reduce environmental and greenhouse gas footprints of its purchases. Green purchasing includes everything from office supplies and cleaning supplies to fleet vehicles and construction materials. The attached environmentally preferable purchasing program will implement 2 of the 3 short-term goals and 3 of the 4 long-term goals for the sustainability plan. And if you recall, during the budget process, I had stated that there were certain things that we were working on, albeit what we were going to be doing into the future. But this is the number 1 item that we can move forward with to govern how we go about purchasing in the future.
Yes, Dr. Kelly.
Just, when I originally saw this, I had a little bit of cynicism and skepticism, but one of the things that I liked was in the adoption portion, where they mentioned that we would consider the purchase of products that achieve the best value and consider price and performance. So, it's not just that we're going to get something that's green but may not be the best, most cost-effective option. I think we have to combine a sense of what's environmentally responsible, but at the same time most cost-effective for the village. And there's obviously ways to do both, and we need to look for both.
Yes, sir.
Jim?
John, did Councilman Holloway get a chance to look at this document?
I can't state to that. I just know he hasn't responded to this item. I don't know whether he had a chance to review it or not.
Right, because he's kind of been the lead on this all the way through.
And I would suggest to you that with my meetings with him, this is something that I'm confident he would be favorable towards.
Thank you.
What's the trade-off between environmentally friendly and cost?
Depends.
At what point to say, this is really
Sometimes there's
environmentally
not.
friendly, it costs me 5 times as much as what I would not be as environmentally
I guess it
friendly.
depends on what you're looking at.
That's what I'm saying, but is there any kind of point that we have to say, fine, we're willing to spend an extra $100,000 a year, $1 million a year to be environment friendly?
I would say rule of reason and good judgment will
Well,
dictate.
fine, I'm asking, so you're saying is that we have no limit then?
It's just like when I'm in the grocery store and I see things that are organically grown versus, I don't really pay too much attention one way or the other. I choose the item that I want to purchase. In this particular case, under your scenario, I would certainly not suggest that we would pay something environmentally sensitive 3, 4, 5 times what I could get it for across the board. So using common sense and using the ability of staff to review things beforehand, I think that helps in answering your
Well, I
question.
just, as long as that's kept in mind.
I understand.
Because a lot of false claims are made and cost a lot of money and really do very little.
Well, as Dr. Kelly pointed out, included in this document is price. That is a factor.
Yeah.
My question is how much?
Yeah, I understand.
Please call the question.
All those in favor of the
Aye.
resolution?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item, Madam Mayor, is reports and recommendations. Mayor and council members, appointment to Dog Park Committee. Mayor Lindsay.
Yes, we have an opening in the Dog Park Committee, and I would like to appoint Alejandra Parapar.
Consensus of council?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. I know she's excited.
Yes,
Spoken with
Jim.
her, yes.
Yes.
Next item is motion to direct the
I'm sorry, Madam Clerk, Mr. Tainter wanted to make a comment.
Sorry, Mr. Tainter, I didn't see.
Mayor, we discussed whether or not the dog park committee should continue. We agreed as a council for it to continue until the dog park is actually built. Do we really need to have a replacement at this stage of the game, since that committee is somewhat going to be a short-term?
Jim, I
have no problem with it.
No,
Just raise the question.
I think that's valid, and my concern is if they can't vote due to lack of quorum, then I think we would be doing a disservice by not appointing someone, and that's what, yes.
Having been accused of, by the Ethics Commission, of conflicts on the Dog Park Committee.
Sir, can you
I'll-
use the mic,
I'm sorry,
please?
my voice is getting very soft.
No, it isn't,
Anyway, I don't see any reason why the Dog Park Committee should sunset once we have a dog park. In fact, if they have people who will be looking at the conditions in the dog park, looking at the use of the dog park, the maintenance of the dog park, and suggestions, who are really interested in the dog park, why would you want to sunset that committee?
You know, Ed, I think you have a valid point, and I think you should put that item for discussion to a next meeting. It's not on our agenda.
I don't mind.
Perfect.
Well, it's not up for discussion now. I mean, there's no sunset request.
Is there a sunset built into this dog park committee right now?
Not that I recall. Let's bring this up for discussion and look at the actual language of the committee, but I don't think there is.
Well, if it's not sunset, there's nothing to discuss.
Right, there's nothing to discuss.
Unless you want to bring it up, sunset.
Well, we did have a discussion as to whether or not the committee should continue, and we decide as a council, yes, at least through the construction
At least
process.
through, and he wants to extend it
I
further.
I
But,
understand
there-
that.
but right now, there's no
I'll be able
termination
to tell
date.
you in a few minutes.
I
Whether
think there might be a termination in the ordinance. We can-
Or at least for the direction or the purpose of the committee may have already been, so we may need to create a new committee with a different mission, or
Right.
different.
That might be the better way to go, Ed.
Fine.
Madam Clerk, I think we can put that on for another day.
Okay. The next item is motion to direct the manager to make an offer to purchase a police parking lot from Miami-Dade County. Councilmember Kelly.
Yeah, the next three items all revolve around parking. And, I found the needs survey that we got back very illustrative to help me understand what were the priorities for people within our community. And parking, traffic, and land acquisition were all the top three. So, we have delayed and debated and thought about this for a long time, and, we want to call ourselves the council that actually does something. So I'd like to make a motion that we direct the manager to go ahead and begin negotiations with the county to actually purchase the land and as the first step towards building a parking garage on that property.
I'll second it.
Mr. Tainter, I'm opening discussion.
I also will support it, and I would like to be the council liaison on this matter.
To work with the manager, or?
Yes.
Okay.
I need to tell you all, I've asked for Mayor Jimenez's help in just getting this deeded.
Sorry?
I've asked for Mayor Jimenez's help in just getting this deeded to us. That's a pending item. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. We're not going to need to make an offer if it does, because we're going to get a deed. So let's bear that in mind.
How long should that take?
Do you need a time certain?
This year, next year?
Why don't,
I think it's an easy decision for him to reach as to whether he's going to intervene, and if he does, I'll let you know. And
can
if
I
he
make a
doesn't, I'll let you know
suggestion
that
that'll
too.
make it easier?
Yes.
Why don't we make this motion to ask the manager to move forward with efforts to acquire the parking lot as opposed to purchase? And that way, that would include an acquisition through a voluntary gift or purchase, or however the acquisition may occur.
Would someone like to make that friendly amendment, and would you accept it, Dr. Kelly?
I would not, and I don't want to be adamant, but I am. We have, and I know that Councilman Tainter has been at the forefront of this, been delaying and delaying and delaying for a lot of aspirational goals. And I think that, the 100-mile journey begins with a single step, and we need to take that step and start this process. And I don't have a lot of confidence in the county's ability or will to deed that property to us. And I think we should be trying to buy it. I think money talks louder than negotiations, and negotiations haven't gotten us anywhere. So I would be willing, if we don't have the votes to make a purchase, then I'll talk about a friendly amendment. But I'd like to at least go on record for the people who in their survey said, we want parking now. I want to go on record as saying that I tried to do something about it. This is the most concrete thing we could do, is buy that land as the first step.
Mr. Dela Cruz and then Mr. London.
Well, I'm so glad that this issue is back on here, because Jim and I have been trying to put it on for months, so every time it was like the trifecta and the trifecta and the trifecta. But if the trifecta is telling us that if we wait a little bit, we're going to get it deeded to us, it doesn't make sense for us to direct our manager to offer money over something that's supposed to happen. So, I mean, if we can put a time limitation over what Vice Mayor Kaplan is suggesting, then I'm all for that. So I want to buy that lot before anybody. And Jim and I discussed it back when we were sitting outside over there in on Crandon Boulevard trying to get elected. So since then, we've been talking about it. And we are both very much in favor of it, and we'll definitely, follow Mike's suggestion if this doesn't work. But, I mean, it doesn't make sense not to give it this last chance.
Mr. London?
Well, that's why I asked Frank, what's the time frame? I mean, is it indefinite? Are we close to it?
No, I think the time frame for a decision is in October, actually.
Fine, so can we modify your motion, Mike, that if by December we don't have it, then we go ahead and try and buy it?
If that's the will of the council.
Well, it's October right now,
Right.
so we're only
If
talking
that's the will of the council, that's the will of the council. But I will,
1 month?
I will
We'll
plead,
hear about it.
plead my seniority, having been on this council longer than any other member, that if we don't do things actively, they don't get done.
I agree with you.
They don't get done. This is the time to do it. We're going to wait 2 months, and there'll be, promise,
No, we said get
there
it.
will be another.
Decision.
There will be
Decision.
another. Oh, yeah, we want to do this, but.
No, decision.
I'm just telling you, I've been down this road
I hear you.
so many times. People ask why things don't get done. It's because there's always a committee, there's always a study, or there's always something that's throwing a wrench in the works that stops the progress. We could start this project tonight, and we could start telling people we have parking on the way tonight, but we're deciding to wait. And if that's the will of the council, we'll do
Well,
it.
Mike, I want to push things, believe me. By the same token, if what Frank's saying is reality, and we're talking about waiting October, and I'm saying fine by December, if we don't have it, then go forward. You waited all this time, don't meet again, we just do it. If it hasn't happened, we don't have to take another vote or anything else, it just moves forward.
Thank you, Mr. London. Mr. Tainter?
I don't care how we acquire the property, as long as we acquire it. But, when we were dealing with the trifecta, they basically said we were barking up the wrong tree, that now, in regards to the police parking lot, we had to do with WASA. And that was where John was headed next, was to get a meeting in front of WASA. I asked if I could attend that meeting, and that's why I asked to be the liaison in this matter. But I kind of agree with Dr. Kelly, promises, 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 and I mean, obviously, if we can get it for nothing, great. But I don't want to prolong it any longer either. I think we need to move forward on it, and I again will support Dr. Kelly's.
Can we amend your motion, Mike, to wait till December if we don't get it?
Or to,
Call the question if it
or
fails.
acquire.
I can just amend it.
Are you comfortable with Jim in waiting till December, or do you want to take a vote now?
It doesn't have to be December, it could be November, right, I mean.
I think you could change it without having even that delay period. Just change it from purchase to acquire.
Council,
One
could
more,
you please?
one more
Yes,
idea.
Yes.
And that would include.
I don't want to get my head chopped off again, but how about acquisition of the property through either voluntary transfer or purchase on or before December 31? That you acquire it, however you acquire it by the end of the year. It's either you got it by gift or you buy it.
I accept your friendly, that's a friendly
Dr.
amendment.
Kelly, do you accept the
I
friendly
accept it.
amendment?
I accept it as a seconder.
Okay, so your second is just because.
I have
Well,
a
it was already,
quick question. Your driver on this is to build parking. We're going to talk about this next, I suppose, but the proposition of building parking under 530 has been broached. You want to talk about that next?
This is,
Can we call the question first?
Yeah.
I want to know whether we're going to talk about that.
I would.
I don't see any great need to acquire this parking lot right now at a price to be negotiated, unless we can get it by deed, that'd be great.
well,
But,
Shouldn't we try and-
That's what
Frank?
that's what we're talking about. I think, we're ready to vote, I understand that, now we're never gonna get this.
oh, the-
You're gonna, either way, whether it's by gift or otherwise, you're gonna have to accept it, either a contract to purchase or accept the conveyance if it's by gift. So you'll decide whether you want it at that point.
well, if we get it, and it's favorable, of course we want it.
Of course we want it.
let's
Well,
go forward with the vote.
Right.
Call the question.
so it is on, what Steve said, acquiring
What's
the...
Steve
Acquired by
The
December
motion is to
31.
direct the manager to take all steps necessary to move forward with the acquisition by voluntary conveyance or purchase on or before December 31, 2016.
Yes,
Okay. and,
exactly what I seconded.
It's been
Seconded.
moved and seconded.
Steve, was that 2016 or 2015?
I'm sorry, 15.
Thank you.
Nice try.
I was,
So, can I do a roll call?
Yes, please.
Okay. On the
Nice try,
motion,
Steve.
as stated by the village attorney, Vice Mayor Kaplan.
Yes.
Councilmember De La Cruz.
Yes.
Councilmember Kelly.
Yes.
Mayor Lindsay.
Yes.
Councilmember London.
Yes.
Councilmember Tainter.
Yes.
Motion carries. The next item is motion to direct the manager to begin the process for the sign build of new parking garage at police station parking lot. Councilmember Kelly.
Yes, again, within the spirit of wanting to get things done, and one of the things I think I've learned from Councilman London is that a design-build project would be the most efficacious and cost-effective and quickest way to solve this problem. I would like us to direct the manager to go ahead and start that process in anticipation of the acquisition of this land by December 31st. And that's a motion.
Second.
I'll go on record as saying that I am probably favor an underground parking solution, because I think it's a much better use of land, will get us more parking, and we need every space we can get. So I'll tell you that that's my sentiment on this.
Mr. Tainter?
Dr. Kelly, I thought that we had decided that we wanted more information as to whether to go with underground parking at 5:30 or have a parking garage built on the police parking lot, that we wanted the numbers and the number of spaces to see which was the most cost-effective, I guess you could say.
Well,
We all, I think, kind of came to the same conclusion that probably the parking lot at the police station would be the better way to go.
Jim may not.
But we had not ruled out the underground parking at 5:30. I think we're still waiting on that report. I obviously agree with Dr. Kelly, but I think that we do need to make that decision as to which way to go, and they have not gotten back to us with that information.
I think Jim wasn't here.
Mr. London?
I think Dr. Kelly's
Wasn't here, I think.
motion was excellent. Of course, that's why I seconded it. And the design build to get proposals, it's not going to cost us anything, but will let us know how much it will cost to build that garage, and you will know how many parking spaces you can maximize in that parking garage. And just to reinforce the idea of design build versus the way we've been going around things in the past, some of us have seen the bids or the projected cost for the dog park from Stantec. And when you look at this thing, you say to yourself, God, wait a second. This was going to cost $900,000. Of course, we have $60,000 for a temporary fence to keep people out while we build, and a bunch of other things. So I would say conservatively, probably it's not going to cost us $600,000 or less. Before I said $750,000, but looking at this thing, probably something in that neighborhood. And why do we have these crazy numbers? Because they justified a $150,000 fee to do this. Now, you can't justify a $150,000 fee at $600,000, $700,000, and this is why design build makes so much more sense. So I think we should go forward with design build, getting people involved, letting them come back. They'll give you an idea. They'll say, fine, we can do this. We can build this many spaces for this many dollars. And then we have something to compare that, Frank, to the underground parking next door at 530, which we don't know how much it's going to cost.
No, I agree with everything.
So therefore,
No problem with
we lose nothing and we move forward finally by going ahead and trying to get proposals for design build,
I have
period.
no problem with any of that. My only point is, I want to be able to compare it to a design build on
That's
underground
fine.
parking.
But you can't compare it if you don't have it.
I agree.
All right, then take.
Mr.
Yeah,
Alvarez.
we had a presentation from the architects. They gave us an amount. You may not have been here.
I was there.
Okay, it says $90,000 per space and a number of spaces that were applicable. I mean, they may be wrong, and it wasn't the architect, it was actually,
It was Paul Abbott.
it was Paul Abbott, right?
Okay.
Paul Abbott was the one that gave us the,
And they were all over the place.
no,
with-
but Paul
with their
Abbott
estimates.
is the,
And that bothered council, that we
it
wanted
wasn't
more
all over the
specific numbers.
place. He told us what the estimate was for the underground parking per space and for the outside parking.
Well, I had the approximate numbers for that. They were telling us below grade would be $95,000 to $125,000 per space. If you just go at 530 Crandon, it's 66 spaces. If you connect it over to the parking garage at the community center, it was 90-plus spaces. If you build a garage in back of Village Hall, where we have the site plan and the architecture for already, done by AECom, they designed a 146-space parking garage. We have 48 existing spaces, so there would be a net gain of about 98 spaces. It would run between $25,000 to $30,000, or about $3.6 million to $4.4 million.
Dr. Kelly, you wanted to comment on that?
Yeah, only that, yeah, we had this discussion before, and I turned to Judd and said, how many spaces do we need? But we decided then, when he came back with a $30,000 study to find out how many spaces that we need, that it didn't make sense to spend that much money when all of us know that we need at least 140 spaces. So that structure is the most efficient way to get the parking spaces at the least cost, and is doable at a time when our residents are telling us it's the most important need within the village. So I don't think we need to study more. I don't think nobody has told us that we're going to get more parking spaces going underground, and they have told us that it will be much more expensive. And certainly building this garage doesn't preclude also adding parking spaces below, but as a first step to answer the residents' concerns as quickly as possible, we need to buy the lot and build a parking garage. It's not that difficult to understand.
It's a decision, like all decisions. I don't remember specifically the split between the underground and the garage. I remember not liking the architecture. That I do remember, but that's just architecture. We can fix that. But I don't have any issue with trying to do a design build on this. I'd like to know what it would cost and what we would get out of underground as well. Because if we do one, we're probably not going to do the other.
It's not just...
Mr. London?
Basically, I would suggest in the design build, when you take proposals from various contractors, you would give them the plans we have today. I didn't know we had plans all done. Give them the plans we have, and they can look at them, value engineering, or come up with a plan of their own. They shouldn't be limited to our plan. They can look at it, see if they like it, see if they want to bid on it like that, or change it, or do something completely different. The next question is, our limits on the number of spaces is based on the current zoning that we have. Is that correct? Judd, you're the zoning man.
No, they just designed a garage for a full 3 stories that would fit on the site.
What's our height limitation?
35 feet.
And what's 3 stories with cars, 24?
Depending, no, because the first floor is going to match the second floor in elevation, so we can potentially accommodate a public works yard in there.
So basically, using 35 feet, then in the 140, you probably can wind up doing the 35-foot, putting 200 cars in there, can't you?
We'd have to seriously take a look at it, whether we can get that 4th level.
Sorry?
We'd have to see whether we can get the 4th level there.
Why can't we get the 4th level?
It may be above 35 feet. I'd have to go back and look at the plans to see what they're at right now. You're looking at 8 foot. You're looking about 7 to 8 foot per floor.
Right, exactly. So basically, if that gives you 35, 140 cars, then probably you can get at least another 45 cars in there, which 185, 190 cars, because you're not going to have as much ramps on the final floor.
Right.
So you probably get 200 cars.
Mr. Helfman, can you please check on the height restriction?
It's 35 feet.
No, I don't know.
Well,
that
I'm not sure, unless it's in our comp plan.
It's in the comp plan. It's commercial. It's 35 feet.
35 feet.
It's also GU zoning district.
Okay, I wouldn't, if there is, I'm not telling you what you should do. I just don't want you to feel that somehow you are permanently restrained from going over 35 feet. if you need to, and if there is some effective design that accomplishes that, don't feel like you are limited.
We grant ourselves a variance.
Yes.
Good, okay, good. Want to make sure. So
It-
basically, Mike, addressing your thing, Frank, if you can build at, we'll say 20, 25, or 30,000 a space, and you
Yeah,
can get not
you modify the
140
plan.
by 200 spaces here, you might not need to go underground and spend a small fortune at 530.
There's
Maybe
no
we both-
question that
but-
your
but the
underground is
question
expensive, you're right.
Let's look, see what we can do here first, and then proceed like that.
It's not just expensive, that going underground. It also, you know, we have to raise the park then, you know, over, it's, you know, it's a funky design aspect
Well, the
of it.
problem is you never know what underground costs you because of dewatering till you're done.
But aside from that, you still have to raise the
Yeah,
park.
but I'm saying still, in spite of that.
There's a lot of reasons why.
I don't remember, that was a discussion item. I don't know that I recall that being a conclusory
Get something on
point.
the floor to vote on?
But just bear in mind, when you build a 4-story or a 3-story building on that back lot, you've got a pretty dense development in there.
You're
And-
talking about 35 feet and how you put the facade on, you don't know how many floors.
You can make it look like it's fewer floors,
You make it
but
look
it's
everything you
it's still
want.
going to be a mass of concrete and
It'll be
reinforced.
35 feet high if you want the parking. How, it's important to have the look of the parking.
It's important to have the parking. The question before us at the time we discussed this, despite the fact that it's significantly more expensive, is it a better result and better use of land to build underground? The point that Luis just made was a discussion item. I don't recall that being a mandatory. I recall it being a speculation. I'd like to know.
But right now, whether we do the 530 underground or not really has nothing to do with this. To go out and get design-build proposals to maximize this site, come back to us with dollars and cents, a number of spaces, makes all the sense in the world.
I agree with that.
Good, let's call the question.
Call the question, please.
All those in favor to direct the manager to begin the process for the sign build of new parking garage at police station parking lot? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries. Next item, Madam Mayor, is discussion regarding community center ride service. Councilmember Kelly.
And this is the third part of my trifecta.
You're doing pretty good so far, Dr. Kelly.
Um,
You're doing better than we did, yeah.
At our next meeting, we're going to have a discussion about an Uber-like golf cart service that will allow residents to go on their cell phone, have a golf cart show up there at their house and take them to places on the island. But in the meantime, we have people who want to get to our community center right now and want to be able to go home again after they go. And the community center circulation has become even more cumbersome with our addition onto the community center. So my thought was, why couldn't we have an employee and one of our 82 vehicles in the village and a cell phone be available if somebody wants to get a ride to the community center and not have to worry about parking? They call the community center and we send a driver over and they get them. And when they're done working out, they walk out to the front desk and say, hey, can you give me a ride back to my house? It would be a great temporary fix that would basically cost us a vehicle and a driver until our Uber service is up and running. And again, it's a way to immediately address the concerns of the most important issue that our residents told us about.
So you say take one of the existing 82 vehicles we have?
And
The only cost then?
no, we have to have the driver. Have a driver and a cell phone account.
Jim?
Would this be in addition to the current service that we already provide? We do have, I believe, Todd, correct? We do have an employee that does provide ride service by a vehicle here in the village.
For seniors.
For seniors.
At least I can use it.
It's early.
Yes, we have a service 3 days a week for seniors that registered in advance.
Is it limited just to seniors?
Yes, currently it is.
We're discriminating again.
Mhm.
Yes.
So would it be possible to expand that program on a temporary basis and accommodate all age groups until our Uber service is up and running?
That's operated through a contractor that we contract with currently. I could speak with them and get back to you at the next meeting or in between
Let us-
while I investigate the other.
Give me 2 weeks. Let's look at it. I like the idea, and I get it.
And
Yeah,
maybe expand it from 3 days to 7 days, or however it
6
could
Get proposals
work
from
out.
the contractor.
Okay. My,
Mr. De La Cruz?
my concern, Steve,
Yes.
because there's a contractor involved in your service. What we're doing is having our own employee drive people around. Is there a legal issue that we need to be concerned about here? Liability?
I see lots of legal issues.
So I mean, I think we should be looking at a contractor situation as opposed to our own employee being the,
We would not be charging for the service, so it wouldn't be
doesn't
a
matter whether you
livery
charge or
or
not.
taxi cab type
it
operation.
doesn't matter whether you charge or not.
There are certainly liability issues, whether you're contracting out or whether you're simply just shuttling somebody through our own employees. I need to look at whatever that service is, however we're doing it, and ensure that we're protected. And to the extent that insurance is necessary, we need to make sure that we have it.
It's a discussion item. I think I think we
Yeah.
all share the need or the desire to help.
Well, it won't
our-
prohibit us from doing it.
Help our residents get back and forth to community center as quickly as possible, until our parking garages are completed.
Or until we get the mobility study finally, and that tells us, what they recommend.
What best direction to take.
Got it.
Are we, next discussion item, please?
Next is discussion to remove and replace special counsel concerning boat show issue. Councilmember Kelly.
Yeah, I just wanted to publicly express my disappointment with the performance of our special counsel with regards to the boat show issue. I advocated for litigation back in December. We ended up hiring a special counsel in January. We were forced to go through the state-mandated mediation, but I have felt quite strongly, and the council knows from our interactions in executive session, that I felt that the strongest strategy was litigation and not mediation. I was disappointed by our counsel because I felt that he facilitated the path towards mediation. And to me, it was not the best strategy. Since the mediation with the City of Miami has fallen apart, it's pretty obvious that we're about to re-embark on our litigation strategy, which I'm all for, and I think the council is as well. But we are at an inflection point, and I think the opportunity would be there to hire a different counsel to take us forward with litigation. I've spoken with Mr. Helfman because my first concern when I brought up this issue with him was, would the change of counsel in some way set us back, which I absolutely don't want to happen. And Mr. Helfman assured me from his perspective that would not be the case, that we would be able to find someone else. And he's given me a name, and I've gotten another name from someone who spoke earlier of other attorneys who would potentially be candidates for that position. So my whole point of putting this on was, I think we should discuss whether we want to continue with Mr. Shubin. And if we decide that we're going with Mr. Shubin, then that will tell the community that he still has we have our confidence in him, and that will be good for the community to hear. What I don't think they should hear is, well, the settlement fell apart, but we just decided to stick with the same counsel anyway. I think we should be more affirmative if we're going to continue with Mr. Shubin. And that's why I thought we should have this discussion tonight.
Fair enough, thank you. Who would like to weigh in first? Frank?
I'll start by confessing that I recommended Shubin and Bass when Steve announced his conflict. I have worked with John a lot, adversarially and collaboratively. I have tremendous confidence in him and his law firm. That's why I recommended him. I think the point that you raised about John steering in some way or another or facilitating our maybe psychology or our collective will to pursue the mediation, which manifestly was against your advice, Mike, throughout. Absolutely right. I think it's fair to say that we all saw it differently and thought it was worthwhile pursuing the mediation, despite beginning pessimism and mounting pessimism as the process went along. So I don't think that, I just don't see it as you do, that he steered us or that we were excessively compliant or anything like that. I think he stood up there and explained the pros and cons, and we reached a collective decision, and we did so repeatedly. We did so at least, how many executive sessions did we have? 4?
4.
So I think it's a bit unfair to put the unacceptable outcome on John, and I also think he's a terrific litigator. His firm is very capable of doing this. I think he's respected, and to a degree, I wouldn't say feared is quite the right word, but he's a formidable litigator. And I think the city of Miami absolutely knows that, and he's a good champion for us. So I don't see a need to do this. I'm happy to have the discussion, and it's always good to bring things up and get them aired out. But I would support John.
Mr. Tainter?
As I recall, when Steve announced that he had a conflict, it was Steve's recommendation that we perhaps hire Mr. Shubin to represent the village in this particular matter. Unfortunately, because we were mandated by state law that we had to go into mediation. And, you know, a gag order was put on everybody in this council. We could not talk about what was going on. And it's unfortunate that the residents of the village didn't know. But the process, we, in good faith, went through the mediation as required. And, you know, clearly what the proposed mediation settlement finally came about, I think this entire council said, this is crazy, we're not going to approve this. Impasse was declared, and now we're headed in the direction that we started with. We're through the mediation, and we're going to go full bore. So to me, we've had Mr. Shubin so far. I think we should continue with him at this stage of the game. But clearly, Dr. Kelly's right, that if we're going to make a change, now is the time to make the change. And so I think it's going to be up to council as to whether we want to do that or not.
Do you have confidence that he should continue?
That Mr. Shubin should continue? Yes, I do.
Okay.
Okay, so I too was very disappointed with the outcome of the mediation process, although I supported the mediation process, and I still support it. And at some point, mediation may be the right thing again. We're not there today, for sure. We've seen that we've tried the best we can to be as upfront and as you know, and as right as we can. And there's no negotiating with the city of Miami at this particular junction. It's unfortunate that it took us as long as it did in order to find that out, and I'm upset about that, and I've made it very clear. But I think it's time to move forward. You know, I had my doubts also whether you know, we could continue with the same council, but I feel after today that I'm, you know, that I questions that I asked and the answers that I received, I think, were important to solidify my support for him. I also know John Shubin from his reputation, because I happen to be a lawyer also. And although I don't litigate, I used to, and my partner does, that's what he does. And John Shubin is one of the most formidable of all the litigators in town. And otherwise, our own counsel, Steve, would not have supported it and suggested it to us. So having said all that, and as upset as I am, and you know that I am because you saw me and you heard me, right? I'm willing to go forward with John and give him our full support, because I think that today he is clear as to what road we need to go.
Mr. London.
Normally, I am 100% against lawsuits. I am for mediation, discussion, negotiations, making a deal, doing something. And I think Myra did the best she could under the circumstances. I think the cards are stacked against us. They realize that we don't want them, and they're going to say, how much will you pay? And they just became excessive, ridiculous, and made deals that we could not possibly accept. But you did your best. He tried to help you do his best. And at this point, I'm saying, go sue them, get it done. I have confidence in John Shubin, but I see no other alternative but to move forward with the lawsuit and to use John Shubin.
And just for what it's worth, John Shubin has my complete, or I have my complete confidence in John Shubin. So I think this was a healthy discussion. Thank you very much for bringing it up.
Well, Myra, you dealt with him more than anybody else, on council on a day-to-day basis, so I value your judgment in that, And I understand where
And
Dr.
just
Kelly's coming from.
without betraying kind of the confidences of what happened in mediation, we were very ably represented. We just had some real challenges. More than you can imagine.
Are you going to write a book?
I could, and Ed, thank you very much, because I think you've been there as well, and I appreciate your kind words.
Next item, Madam Mayor, is creating a water and boat safety committee, your item?
Yes. The issue of Mashta Flats and the environmental impacts and the safety impacts have been before this council for the last couple of years. Jim, you've done tremendous work. This council has taken many steps to address the safety issues and the environmental issues. We still have challenges. We have our police officers working very hard out there, and it is not, I think we need to think out of the box and come up with more options. What is going on there is not boating. It is crazy, irresponsible, dangerous partying. There are party promoters throwing parties out there. It is not about boaters. There's really dangerous behavior, and it is, as we've seen for the last couple of years, accidents happen when people are extremely drunk and people are not aware of their surroundings. It's been brought to my attention by boaters in our community, by our neighbors, that this is getting worse and not better. I think we need to kind of rethink this, and my suggestion would be to create a water and boat safety committee to address those issues. And so I wanted to bring this before you, have a discussion, and with your consensus, direct our council to come up with an ordinance for a committee. Jim.
According to Chief Press, the situation is better than it was because they are able to enforce the laws better than they were in the past. It's not perfect. It's got a long way to go. There's no question about that. I see everything that happens on Master Flat on the weekends. So if you want to form a committee to try to help, solve the problem, not just on Master Flat, but within the village limits, which is all that we can do.
Sure.
I don't think it would hurt.
Fair enough. Point well taken.
The more the merrier.
And now I know, Mr. Helfman, what is the status of the noise ordinance that we needed to amend for enforcement purposes?
We needed to adopt the Dade County
the
noise.
Dade County, and tweak it a little bit, I believe. That's what you brought to our attention.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Honestly, I'm not sure. I need to check with Judd. But the Dade County noise ordinance does not, as I recall, and I think this was the problem, does not help us. And that was the roadblock that we ran into. Judd, can you refresh my recollection on what we were doing with an amendment to the noise ordinance?
For the boats.
Why am I
Noise ordinance
why am I
for-
drawing a blank?
For enforcement. From boats and enforcement.
It's the onshore effect of
The onshore.
offshore,
Yes,
routes.
And
I'm
where it
very
could be
familiar
measured,
with
I think
that.
it was where it could be measured from.
It's the point of measurement.
Yep.
The point of measurement, we thought, was on the
On the
shoreline where people
shoreline.
are affected by the noise. And if it's over 60 decibels, we can regulate it. That's what I thought.
We'd have to look into that, and there may be some kind of an exemption on motor vehicles and motorboats. But we'd also have, from the enforcement side of it, we'd have to have somebody handy to go out and catch the guy.
It's got to be on top
That's
of the
the-
master
And,
plan.
and,
the
and
issue.
it
It's the
may not be,
enforcement issue.
it may not be within the, Steve, on the bay side, is it 300 feet or is it 1,000?
No,
Well,
we
1,200, I think.
but that's
1,200?
Yeah.
okay.
Village
The
limits.
answer is I apologize. I don't know where we are with it, and I the problem is that the county's noise ordinance does not set, as I recall, having looked at this, any limitation on the generation of noise. It's very weird. They amended their code several years ago to eliminate the noise limitations, if you can believe that, and you probably would believe that. So let us look at it, but now I understand the concern, which is the generation of noise from boats that comes onshore and whether we can regulate that noise
And
as a
it's-
village.
And it's 60 decibels when it
Well,
hits shore.
There's some boats that I've heard where I reside where they're way past 1,200 feet. And I would be concerned about how do we actually, the reality of enforcing this without having.
Okay, but we need a legal opinion.
Yeah,
So
we
if
need
you
to-
could Please get us a legal
Yes.
opinion by November 10th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Mr. Dela Cruz.
Yeah, even more important than the noise ordinance, I'm more concerned about the enforcement of the ordinance that we passed here at the village level on the Master Flats, and I asked our manager and our chief why we weren't enforcing that ordinance, because I went out there on a Sunday, and there must have been 100 people on top of the Master Flats on motorboats, and I was told that we are still not enforcing our ordinance because there's some kind of situation happening with the Fish and Wildlife Committee?
No.
Whatever
What
they're
was
called.
explained was that the permitting process has been completed. We went out to bid for the first set of poles. We had to put 10 poles in with 10 signs. And what happened was the bids came back, only 2 came back. One was disqualified for not being complete, and the other was, I just didn't feel like giving it right to him because he was the only one left. So we've gone back out and rebid this. Once the bid gets approved by council, it will take approximately 6 weeks to get the poles put in, the signs put up. But until that takes place, the police chief cannot enforce the
Okay,
noise.
then we're going back to the same thing that always happens here, that we pass things and they don't get implemented and they don't go forward.
Well, it's regulatory.
Well,
We need,
listen, so
not
it's
the
good to
village is
have this
doing.
discussion. Let's move things forward.
we need to move this forward. We need to get the contractors to respond. If not, go out with another request. You know, we need to get this ordinance that we already passed enforced. And we can't enforce it until we put the poles out. What can we do to help you to get this done?
Louis, it took us,
That-
what, 2 years?
But it doesn't
almost?
have to take forever
Hold on.
every time that we pass
Hold on,
something.
Louis, it took us almost 2 years to get the damn, permitting. We finally got that. We originally had gotten 3 bids, as I recall, to put the poles in, and we got approval from council at that time for $31,000. Once we got the permitting, John went back to those same bidders and said, would you please rebid, since, you know, what you did was 2 years old. They came back, and as John said, we only got 1. we don't operate that way, so that's why we're going back out again.
Well,
And
I mean,
you
at
have
some-
to,
at
you have
some
to
point-
realize that there are only a few of these contractors that do this work.
And then at some point, we're talking $31,000, guys. You know, let's go forward with the guy that we do have. If we can't, if nobody else wants to bid for it, let's go with what we got.
If you think Dr. Kelly is frustrated that he can't get anything done.
No, but I mean, you know,
for
this
the
is
remainder
really.
of his term,
you
I'm
know,
just as much
we're
on
having,
this master
We're having
plan.
a lot of trouble with this, okay? Our residents are up at arms. They call me and you and everybody else incessantly regarding the problem. Let's address it. If we can't find 3 people to bid, let's get the guy that bid and let's get him his money and let's get the poles out there and put them and start enforcing the ordinance. The other
Agreed.
day, you know, now what are we doing with our boats? Because, you know, on the Sunday, not this Sunday, the Sunday past, I went out there and I was looking for one of our boats to ask them, you know, why are these people here? I didn't know what was going on. And I couldn't find any of our boats. I don't know where they were, but they certainly weren't at Mashta Flats.
Right.
And they weren't, you know, looking out for DUIs.
Right.
There, anyway.
Remember that, you know, we can only enforce what's within the village limits.
I
which is
understand
only
that.
about a third of the
I-
flat.
I-
I'd like to have Chief Press come up and explain to council what they are doing now in regards to this noise ordinance.
Okay.
Because I had this conversation with him earlier today, and I think, you know, his explanation will help somewhat
Fair enough.
your concern.
And,
Not
okay,
just
so
the
let's
noise.
wait.
I'm not talking about the noise.
Wait,
Okay?
wait. Again, to get back to the discussion item for a second, and I appreciate that we're having all these kind of statuses. It's all critical. We're all frustrated. We're extremely frustrated. We want solutions. But in addition to what we have coming down the pike that we've handled, I think we need to have, to identify more options and more things to do.
That's what the
So
committee's for.
do we have consensus for a committee?
Yes.
Okay. Chief Press.
Good evening, Council. Regarding the noise ordinance, as I was explaining to not only Councilman Taylor, but was actually out on the water this weekend myself for the entire day Saturday dealing with this. And what we have done is we have pushed the noise makers, the ones with amplified noise,
Boom boxes.
as far back as our village boundaries go, letting them know that it's either that or it's a $500 fine. With that in mind, when you have 100, 200 boats, with each one of them having music on regular speakers that they have in these boats, and you take all of that music at one time, it's what we kind of refer to as white noise. And it's just noise. You can't even tell what it is or how it is. Now, once it reaches shore and you've got this noise, if you have a decimal meter, the way you lawfully have to read that noise is you have to triangulate from 3 different positions to get the proper reading of that noise. But one of the biggest issues in that location is the wind. If there is a wind blowing, that creates a major decimal noise, believe it or not. And it adds to whatever white noise is out there. So you cannot truly get a complete focus on where that noise is coming from because it's just noise. Now, if you go to, I know you
Why can't
don't
you shut it
understand-
all down then?
Because we can't shut it down, because people have a right to play a stereo on their boat as long as it's not in violation of, and this is what I believe
But you just
Mr.
told me it was
Helfman was looking for.
violating the noise
The county code and what we have here in the village is we have a nuisance part of our noise ordinance that's attached to that. If somebody has 10-foot speakers, which some of these party boats do, that creates a nuisance. That is an offense that is readily enforceable with either county ordinance as a nuisance, please bear with me, ma'am, or our ordinance as a nuisance. We have that here. If somebody is having a massive party at 10 o'clock in the morning, within the hours that you can have noise, but it's of such a nature that it creates a nuisance in the neighborhood, we can ramp up to the county ordinance, declare it a nuisance, and cite them under that ordinance. But when you're using a decimal meter to try and focus on which of those 150 boats, all with music that are playing, it's impossible. I can't do it.
And the prohibition is creating noise within the village boundaries. If he's telling you that he's pushed all of these noisemakers outside of the village boundaries, then within our jurisdiction, we've done everything we can do. Now, if we have the authority to enforce county noise regulations, which is...
County nuisance, no, yes, sir, we do.
Okay, so then the issue becomes, what is the county law with respect to generating noise in the bay? And I will tell you that the county has, their regulations are not even close to as stringent as ours with respect to generating noise. They don't have time limitations. They don't have days of limiting noise. You can basically make noise anytime you want in Miami-Dade County.
Well, wait a second, is this a county or is this state of Florida?
County.
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 Isn't it
I
the
mean,
Fish and
I don't-
Wildlife
I
Commission
don't know.
that's it?
I don't
that has the
believe Fish and
jurisdiction?
Wildlife has any
I
type
don't
of
believe-
ordinance.
I don't know that the
how does
state has
how does the
noise
county have
The,
any
the, the county has jurisdiction on those local waters
They do.
Yeah. it's
through
jurisdiction.
their MOU with the state of Florida.
Through their MOU with
Correct.
the state of Florida. So
Correct.
they're enforcing
Correct.
Florida law. No, but they're enforcing the state of Florida law.
But I think, but I think they're also allowed to enforce local county regulations
course
that
they
aren't
can.
inconsistent with
what
county
we need to do is
regulations.
find out what they are. You know what I mean?
Okay.
We really don't know.
But Chief, just a point of clarification, it's, the boats are not always pushed back to outside of our limits.
No, ma'am.
And that, but I have to tell you, when they are pushed back, it makes a huge difference.
And I
And so
understand
that's a
that,
solution.
and I agree with you with that. But for instance, again, because I was out there and I was focusing on this, if a boat is playing music on their boat, they're allowed to play music. And when we're right next to that boat, if that music is not a nuisance, we cannot violate their rights to either yell or scream, because half of the noise that you hear generated is all the yelling and screaming and dancing and talking over the music from all of these multitudes of boats.
And Chief, point well taken. I understand we do not want to shut people down from having fun, but I can also tell you that I walked my dog and I could hear a DJ as clear as if it was next to me.
What was that, ma'am?
This
Just-
was not this weekend, it was the weekend before.
Correct.
And so just,
Correct.
I think what we're trying to raise are, maybe it worked, we had wonderful enforcement, and the wind was great, and we had great conditions this weekend. But I can tell you, the weekend before.
The weekend before, there was a DJ. There
And
was.
the
He
DJ
had
was
8-foot-tall speakers, okay?
And that was a nuisance for me, and I'm in the
He was
interior.
past our boundaries. He was past our boundaries.
So then why could the
Because I got
county
a phone
nuisance
call
laws
that,
not be applicable
Ma'am,
with
the-
Fish and Wildlife
I-
or with the Coast Guard?
what we're going to do, and I'll reach out to County Marine Patrol and see if they would be willing to send their boats over to work with us and actually cite for these nuisance violations, because it's beyond a noise violation. It's a nuisance violation.
Chief, here's the
okay?
part that
And that's a game changer for us.
And so that's maybe, again, part of our committee will look at these things and building these partnerships. I know you've been working very, very hard. I very much appreciate it. But I can tell you, we have made some gains, but we have some real challenges. And some of the
I
things that are
agree, ma'am.
happening are just unacceptable.
I could not agree more.
This is the one detail that I remember differently. The one detail. If a boat was 2,000 yards offshore and blasting music that hit onshore at above the threshold
65, right?
decibel level, right? we could enforce, I thought, the county's ordinance, because the source, notwithstanding that it's 2,000 yards away outside of our jurisdiction, hit our shore and violated our ordinance, or violated their ordinance. Either way, I thought we could get them. Now, the question of finding them, to your earlier point, if there's 27 boats out there and it's all white noise, I get that.
Well, listen, in that circumstance, if it's one of these super boats, and by the way, we had one, a big boat that towed a barge this weekend, Sunday specifically, towed a barge with massive speakers, and they were ready to tear the house down. And
That's not boating.
our officers saw that. It's not boating, it's just hardcore partying. Officers saw that, forced them beyond that. They were away from the majority of the party. They felt that they were not going to serve their purpose there, and they went elsewhere. So all we could do, and what I've asked our officers to do, hit them hard early, start early on them, and get them as far offshore as possible. Hope for an east wind, which really helps. And then when the afternoon comes, we had that discussion, I think, with the fire department when you brought that east wind up. And then when the afternoon comes and it switches to the west wind, the noise changes. It's dynamic. It's literally the second that wind shifts from east to west, you get your white noise. The entire mornings, you can almost not hear a sound from that shoreline.
Thank you very much. Mr. Tainter.
Just to finalize this, the master flat situation has morphed into commercial ventures.
That's
We
Yes,
now
it
have,
has.
as you say, we have DJs,
Bars.
you know.
Correct.
We have a raw bar out there.
Correct. Several.
We have commercial charters coming from South Beach and downtown Miami. So what has happened is the pleasure of boating is being supplemented by commercial ventures. And I think that's where some of our problem is coming from, and hopefully y'all can address that.
Just so you know that we worked with the Coast Guard, and we have complete support from the Coast Guard. We asked them to board 3 commercial vessels this weekend, which they did. They didn't just board them, they sent an entire team on board to make sure they were not illegal commercial vessels. All 3 of them passed the muster. They are licensed captains, licensed commercial vessels, and they're allowed to go out there, checked every ID to make sure there was no one underage drinking alcohol. And so the Coast Guard has been fabulous in their cooperation, and they pledge long-term help with that, because that's a big issue with them, especially after 4th of July a year ago, when that unauthorized commercial vessel killed those people.
Mayor, you'll come back in with the appointments for the committee?
Yes, I will come back and please, any
And I would hope
suggestions.
that I would be on that committee also.
You can be a liaison.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Chief.
Okay, I think we're ready for our next discussion item.
Discussion of potential public-private village school board partnership for construction of new community school building. Councilmember De La Cruz.
Okay, so, obviously, this is an item that we've discussed, or you all have discussed before, and then it's gone to the wayside, and I think it's time to bring it back before the council. I think one of the most important things in a community, especially a community like ours, is a top-rate public school system. And now we have a high school at Mass Academy, and at one point I thought, well, maybe the high school is going to help with the overcrowding at the K through 8, but unfortunately, I think what it's done is it's encouraged more people to leave their kids in Key Biscayne rather than send them off to St. Stephen's, Gulliver, Ransom, all the other schools in order to get them into the high school. They stay here because now they have a viable alternative at the Mass Academy. And it's resulting in more overcrowding as opposed to less overcrowding. So we're in the same position we were before. And I don't have kids of school age, but I certainly believe that one of the things that most affects our property values is a top-notch school system. And I recognize that we give, we're a donor community. We we give the school board a significant amount of money and we only get a very small part of it back. But having said that, we still have to worry about ourselves like we do in every other instance. So I would like to get this discussion started. I'd like to, obviously, I can't, because of the Sunshine Law, I can't speak to Vice Mayor Kaplan about this particular issue, which I would like to get as much information from him as I could, because he obviously was very successful with the high school, and I want to push it forward to study the possibility of doing a school, of building a new building, not just whitewashing like we did the other one. Well, unfortunately, we spent a lot of money there that I thought was misspent, but it is what it is, and it's time to go forward. And while we're thinking about spending money in pocket parks and stuff like that, this is really what we need to be spending our money on, more important than anything else. So I encourage your thoughts and everything, but I want to go forward with this, and I'm going to keep working at it as much as we possibly can in order to get it going this year, somehow forward, so that we can come up with a plan to work with the school board, to work with the foundation, to work with whatever groups we need to work with in order to make this idea come to fruition.
Vice Mayor?
The history is lengthy. We ought to really meet in Sunshine and include anybody who's interested. I think the last meeting that occurred with the school district was the beginning of last school year. We had intended, and basically what's happened that's positive since the ILA is a recognition on the part of the members of the school district that are participating in this problem, in the solution to this problem, that their statistical analysis, historical statistical analysis, was just simply not up to date, not right. There were two elements of it. One, they think that the public school district became more popular and palatable to a number of our residents that, as you say, were going to Ransom and Gulliver and whatnot. But the other, and the more significant item, is that second home investment properties more and more and more frequently become primary residences, and the demographics that are in those units are 3 kids. And it's not 3 kids, whatever it is, but they're younger families that are moving here and entering into the public school district at a level that exceeds the historical norm. So, right, last September, had a big powwow at the school. Everybody was there, the facilities people, the demographics people, the statisticians, and they all realized, yes, what I just summarized is the reality. Question is, what are we going to do about it? Things haven't progressed. We were supposed to have a follow-up contemporaneously with the masked ribbon cutting, which didn't occur yet. We were expecting that to happen in September. It didn't. I expect that that meeting is going to happen, especially after this item is brought up tonight, as soon as we push it.
And that's, I agree with you. I remember about a year and a couple of months ago, the idea was that, they admitted their projections, and they do projections for all the schools in the different districts, and that ours was woefully incorrect.
Right.
And so then how do they fix it? Because they do projections for every 10 for decades, okay? So then the discussion was, okay, we may have an issue, but we've already done projections for Math Academy that should provide some relief. The 6th grade is still not open.
Right.
But clearly, it's not going to be the solution that they had hoped for. I think the next step is, and there's always the tension of the more than $50 million that we paid to the schools, to the education system, and the challenges, because they should be providing these services. We know, and we're willing to be partners. We understand the dynamics, but I think, we need to take the first step, and the first step is to bring this to their attention and make our demands as taxpayers.
We will,
Oh, sorry.
That was
Dr. Kelly?
Sorry, go ahead.
I thought you were pointing at Dr. Kelly.
No, it's one of my-
Ed, go Ed, go.
I know you're never supposed to volunteer, but I'd be happy to volunteer to approach my friends at the school system to see if I can get anything going, what their plans are.
I think that's a
And I know I should never
wonderful.
volunteer, but I'm doing it anyway, if you want.
Do we accept?
Absolutely.
I want to suggest that we not lose touch with the relationships that we have built and
Fair
the
enough.
process that we are on. Anybody's welcome.
I'm Frank, I'm innocent, I know nothing, so let me just go tread around and see what I can do.
You do that.
Mr. Tainter and then Dr. Kelly.
Frank, what I'd like to ask you is, do you think we can cut another deal with the school board, similar to what we did with the Master Academy? You know, they like our money, you know. Obviously, you know, the Master Academy, as far as I'm concerned, and I think the residents of the village, you know, has worked out better than we anticipated. It brought all kind of problems that we didn't anticipate, Lewis, in regards to the community school. You know, can we possibly do another deal, you know, where we help pay for and help them build an addition, you know, you say an additional school, but a major addition to the community school, because the overcrowding is not going to go away, and it seems to be getting worse every year. So the question is, do you think we can cut a deal? I mean, you're the one that kind of ran with that and probably can answer it better than anybody else.
The answer is yes, we could. The problems, there's several things. One that I just think to mention that's not a showstopper, but there's a geometry associated with that site. If we demolished the school, putting aside where we would put the school function for the 18 months or 2 years that it would take to build a new school, it is not certain that the resulting envelope would be sufficient to satisfy the overcrowding that exists now or that will be projected to occur in the next X years.
Okay, I understand it's not certain, but let's study it. Let's move forward. Let's
Well,
study
it has been studied.
Okay, because
Okay.
if not, then we're back to square one.
Dr. Kelly, please, you've got the floor.
You know, this is the third phase that I've been part of with schools. And the first was Manny, who wanted us to create our own high school.
Dr. Kelly, can you get close?
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Wanted us to create our own high school and put it on 530, and then when that didn't fly, we were going to incorporate it into the police station, which obviously wasn't a great solution. Then the next era was Mayor Kaplan's situation with the school board that actually, beyond anyone's belief, was very successful, and he was able to accomplish it. The traditional problems we always run into are location and funding. And I'm happy to see the enthusiasm. I'm always 100% for it. It's important to convey to all the stakeholders in the school that it isn't going to be happening next fall. You know, I mean, we see these waves of parents who get all enthused and they bring their kids up to speak to the podium, and they're like, this year we're going to see it happen. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that fast. And, you know, we ought to look to see what the cost would be to doing it all ourselves, because that's the only way we have control of this process. But whenever we've done that in the past, it becomes so exorbitantly expensive that, putting aside the fact that it's not our responsibility, building a new school, to having the village do it, is more than we can afford, do all of it. So we have to do it some way as a partnership, and once it becomes a partnership, it becomes bogged down in the bureaucracy of the school board and how we're going to divvy up who pays for what, and that always slows down the whole process. That's why it was so amazing that you were able to get through that.
But let's do it again.
So let's do it again. Let's restart the process, but it's important to temper expectations, to know that it's not going to happen immediately, that we are going to work diligently and responsibly toward it, that there's support on this council to do it, but there's also the recognition that this isn't only our responsibility. And invariably, and only because I've been up here through this process 3 times, invariably people know that they can't get a positive answer from the school board. So they come up here and they yell at us. And they say, it's your responsibility to fix this. It's really not. It's really their responsibility to fix it, but we're so sympathetic that we want to try and help, and we're so willing to help, we're willing to put our money behind it to the degree that we can, but we can't fix it on our own. And they need to understand that. And we're going to do everything we can, but we can't do it on our own, and the focus has to not only be on us, but also on the school board as well.
So Ed, because the focus needs to be with the school board, we are over-enrolled by 140. Our demographics have changed. Their projections are woefully just, incorrect. And you have, what, do you need 2 weeks, 30 days to fix it?
I don't like fixing them.
Myra, I want to say something.
Yes, Frank.
I'll call tomorrow on this. The one thing that.
What are you going to do?
But wait. You know what? Let's have.
Let me tell you something. What we specifically didn't do, because it never worked, and have at it, we went not to the school board. We went to the professional administrators whose job it is to administer public education. And we made it their problem, and we presented them with the failure of public education in this educated community, and it took about a month to do the whole deal. So, try.
Okay. Let me point something out, okay, because we said it's 100 and something. The fish capacity for the school is 1,002, okay? Currently, there's 1,374 students in that school, okay? So it's much greater than what you think.
140% and over-enrolled? I think that's pretty correct.
140%, you said?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You said
140%.
Okay.
And
I thought you were saying 140.
okay, 140%.
140%. Okay.
Percent. And my number was that actually enrollment was 998, or slightly below 1,000.
You're right.
And that it's
I
close.
thought you said 140 students.
140%. Okay.
The one thing, the most important decision when we went downtown to get this deal done was to not go to the school board. We've been going to the school board for years. We went to the professionals. We cut a deal in a month.
Frank wants to do it? I shouldn't.
I think you should both go your way, and I think you should both
do your thing. Do your thing. Do your thing.
You
this has been going on a long time.
I think it was the will of the council to have you.
I don't think it's the will of the council to have Ed unilaterally go to the district.
No, I think it's both. I think it's
I'm
the will of
saying-
council to have everybody who
I
has
thought
it
we
have
just
in here
discussed
to do
that.
whatever they can,
I thought we just discussed that.
No, you just declared that result. I'm telling you that this has been going on for a long time. It's work in progress. The one thing that didn't work,
He's doing it, I should interfere.
you don't have to interfere with me. You can do your thing. But there's no reason to get off the wagon with the team that's been assembled, that's accomplished what we've accomplished thus far.
He is uniquely positioned because he has worked very closely with the school board. The dynamics are different.
The dynamics
was-
are not the least bit different.
Okay.
What's
listen,
different?
we can't be
What's
arguing
different
up
about
here.
work in progress that's been going on for years?
Let's move forward.
This is not what I wanted out of this discussion. I want a way forward, okay? So then, if Ed feels like he's got, a new way to approach it, let's,
The one thing that we don't want to do is be at cross purposes.
No.
You do your thing, I'll do my thing.
Okay.
Let's see where we come back to. Okay?
Can we set like November for a report? Can we? That's great. That's wonderful.
November?
I'm not going to quit, I promise you.
November, the first
gonna
meeting
quit.
or the second meeting? Who cares?
Okay.
Whatever
Well, it's
meeting you guys
only
do.
one week. November 17th?
That's a wonderful day.
I knew you liked 17th.
It's having having deadlines is important in this council and any council.
Moving on.
Okay, next item, discussion of moving forward with a study of potential and pros and cons of burying power lines, Councilmember De La Cruz.
Okay, so we've talked about it again, another item that we've talked about a lot that we can't seem to get off the ground, and I want to push this forward, but I want to push it forward from. We need to find out if we can do this in our community. Okay, that's the first thing we need to do, because our water table is different than the majority of the other places like Palmetto Bay and the other place where we got this
Cutler Bay.
Cutler Bay. I don't know I don't know that burying the power lines will work here. I want to know that as soon as possible, because I definitely want to push forward burying the power lines if it's a doable thing.
Okay, Mr. Dela Cruz, let me give you a little bit of an update, because we did address this before. We, I believe, gave the manager an action item, and I just want to check to see what the status is. I think that's probably the next step, because I think we're further along than you may think.
Cape Florida's underground.
Exactly.
What's that?
Cape Florida's been underground for 25
Cape
years.
Florida's been underground, and the condos are underground. And all of Miami Beach, it's pretty much a barrier island.
Okay, so.
So,
Good.
so that's part of, so,
As we-
Mr. Manager?
As we discussed at the first budget hearing, there was a desire on my part, I brought it to council, to set up a number of workshops that needed to be done. The first workshop was done last week regarding the sewers. We've got a workshop coming up with mobility. And my direction from council was to begin putting together a group of people who could stand before this council and explain to them the different options that we had. That, to me, was going to be another town workshop type meeting. You had put us in contact with the FP&L representative. A former council member had brought forth to me someone who I sat and listened to for over an hour regarding solar power. And I also met with the folks that had done the underground power sinking, I guess for lack of a better word, up in Northeast Dade. We're shooting for a workshop between the end of October and November, before the Thanksgiving break, on this item. I've got other workshops for you, but we haven't stopped. We've got people lined up. I think I've got a pretty good group of people that will appear before you, and the intent will be for you all to decide what you want to do. Mr. London was right in my conversations with the people up in the Northeast. There's a significant amount of savings to be had in how you go about doing this. And if we put in the infrastructure, FP&L still has to pull the lines, but everything else that goes below ground is something that can be negotiated and can be contracted out to be. And I was told that there is significant cost savings in that process. I have followed up on that. I'll bring the right people in. We'll have the Florida Power and Light representative in here. We'll have solar energy in here. And then at the end of the workshop, the council can make a decision on what to give me direction on.
Excellent, and I know that in our last discussion, you mentioned a design build and doing, and I think that, I'm certainly supportive of that, but we need to kind of get a big picture of what the options.
The big picture was, we brought it up 6 months ago or more, was to get, there's a lot of underground utility contractors. You go to the underground utility contractors, they're all licensed by the state of Florida, so you can get a complete list of all of them and say, hey, here's the map of Key Biscayne, here's we want underground electric, are you interested in doing a design build here? It doesn't cost a lot. We now have someone working with John, who, where is she? She's sitting back there, who's going to help him with capital projects. She could start by doing that. Getting all the underground electrical contractors, underground utility contractors list, and sending them out an email blast or whatever, saying, this is what we want to do, you're interested, we're going to have a workshop, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and get them involved, and go from there.
I agree. I know the workshop is educational for us, and also it's for buy-in and education for our community. That's very, very important, but I think we can fast-track it.
But I think we should get the information first before the workshop.
So
We have a workshop. We have a workshop.
When is that?
They have been trying, I believe you said that we have 2 other workshops. We're looking for November.
What's happened is your mobility study is held up because your final public workshop has not taken place yet.
Correct.
We've been trying to find the right date and the time for that. I'm leaving that with Mr. Cordino. But it was my intention, no matter, whenever we had this discussion, to have the power workshop before the Thanksgiving holidays. That has always been my benchmark.
My
Okay.
suggestion, John, would
Great.
be to get some people, like I say.
Are you volunteering?
Utility contractors, and
Are you-
then have the workshop.
Are you volunteering?
Sorry?
Are you going to volunteer?
I've volunteered once already.
No, I know, but I'm-
Frank didn't want me, so I'm sure somebody else won't.
I want you.
Thank you, manager, for making that happen. We appreciate it, for being on the ball.
Okay, so
Okay.
let me get this straight. So before Thanksgiving, we're going to have a workshop on power.
I'm not going to give up my children for this, but that's my intent, and that's the desire, and that's what staff has been directed to do.
Well, I don't want you to give up your children for anything. I just want to know what's our next step here.
I can't repeat it enough.
Listen,
I can't.
I want to have a schedule that I can, in my own little schedule book, know that if something didn't happen by a particular date, I can call back and I say, what happened with this? What, you know, what?
Luis, that's why.
That's the way I want to run my life.
Luis,
you know.
Luis, we did that.
Oh.
That's,
Well,
we
I
did
mean, I
priorities.
missed it. I'm
We
sorry.
attached priorities, and this is
You
exactly
know,
on
I
schedule.
see this going like everything else goes here for years and years and years, and I want to stop that process. I want things to go a little different here.
Mr. Dela Cruz, again, I want to bring you back to the beginning of January. We actually attached dates to these projects, and we are on schedule
We're on
for this. Yes, we are.
We're in October. Nothing has happened with this project. I don't know, how can we be
Well-
on schedule?
Madam Mayor, can I suggest,
Yes.
before the next meeting, whatever, if we could contact utility contractors, see if people are interested in doing this, giving us bids, design build?
Gladly.
Thank you. I mean, that.
Mr.
would
Manager,
Would that be
is
good?
that good?
Lucio?
That was your job.
Oh, that's my job? No, no.
Okay.
I mean, we
Her
have
job.
employees that I think should be doing this kind of stuff, and I'm just hoping that, you know, that somehow we all find out who's the one that needs to be doing it, and come back to us and give us some reports, and, you know, and then set up the workshop, and go forward with these projects. We can't keep talking about them. What Mike complains about all the time is true. We don't do anything here, because, you know, we keep talking about them. We talked about them in January, and we're in October, and nothing has happened with this project. You know, I'm sorry, but that's not fast enough.
Okay, I understand your frustration. I think for point of clarity, if we can, for our next meeting, have as part of our discussion items, our calendaring of our priority items, so that you have an idea of where we are and you can put it in your calendar. I think that'll be very helpful.
How about a report from Anna, how many contractors?
Or a report, Anna, that would be wonderful. If
Yeah,
you
who
could
wanted-
start
who are
providing
interested,
reports,
contact
because I
everybody.
believe that we are on schedule for this. And I think if we have a visual, it will ease everyone's, everyone will get a sense of ease, and we will be able to
I never
continue
saw any
productively.
schedule that said that we're gonna have in November. In January, it said in November, we're gonna have.
There were months allocated, and I think it will be very helpful. Thank you.
Well, okay, I don't want to be shut up on this issue either. I just want to make sure that everybody understands how I feel about this, and how we need to go forward with these projects and not keep talking about it.
Mr. Dela Cruz, I'm not shutting you up, I'm giving you the facts.
Okay, yeah, but you
I
are
just
shutting
am-
me off again, and I don't appreciate it, okay? So I want to make sure that everybody, I was elected to this council.
I'm redundantly clear on
Okay,
this.
well, I want to make sure everybody understands it, that I don't like what's going on here. I don't like how slow things are moving. I want to push the things going forward, and I want deadlines. And I want to know that by a particular date, our manager's going to bring us whatever he's going to bring us, and I want to be able to rely upon that. And that's it, okay?
You've made the point. Thank you.
Next item
I don't
is,
want you shutting me up either.
I'm
So,
not shutting
it doesn't
you
matter
up.
whether it
Don't
comes from
insult me. I'm not shutting you up.
Whatever.
You've made the point. You've made it repeatedly. We all have heard it. We got it.
Right.
Moving on.
next item, prioritizing legislative priorities.
give up on it.
Mayor Lindsay, and you have before you, at the mayor's request, the resolution 2015-8, which prioritize the legislative priorities for year 2015.
Okay, we did this last year for the first time. It was incredibly helpful. Resolution,
Where is it?
we entered it February of 2015.
Thank you.
Next.
How you doing?
And we were making wonderful progress. We gave, this was a roadmap for our council, our community, and our lobbyists as to what our priorities were for legislative initiatives. We were doing very, very well. Unfortunately, there was a problem in Tallahassee with the budget, and the budgetary issues hijacked the rest of the legislative process, and nothing was done. We are now at a point where we need to redo this again, and I just wanted to bring this to your attention. It helps our lobbyists, it helps us, it keeps us on track. It's a priority for all of us. So this was just a point of discussion. If you all would like to review and discuss and bring it to the next meeting, I just wanted to put it on your radar.
I think other than section 6, we haven't accomplished anything else, so we probably are going to, all of these.
Readopt,
all of
that
these
was my
still need
thought.
to be
That was my thought.
on the plate, and if there's anything else that people in the council feel strongly we should be working towards at the state level, they ought to bring them.
And again, a lot of these items actually made it to budgets, and we had the ear of our legislators, but it all cratered at the end. so.
Section 2 makes no sense whatsoever. I mean, it's wishful thinking, but it makes absolutely no sense.
It was aspirational, I think it was as a policy issue,
It
but
makes
I
no
agree.
sense. I mean, it's nonsense, but that's fine.
Bottom line is you want us to update,
Actually,
review
you
and
know
update.
what? State rep, there are a couple of the Miami group
Yeah.
they are very concerned with the insurance policy.
Everybody's concerned, so what?
I know, it's,
I mean, it
to
means
get
nothing.
aspiration on the,
I don't, this wasn't just aspirational, this was a real legislative, brouhaha.
It's something to make people feel good. They can't
I
do
think
anything.
Frank Artiles, I think Representative Jose Javier Rodriguez worked on this, and
Yeah, pass regulations and insurance
I-
coverage will leave the state, that's all.
I know.
So then
No
would
big
you
deal.
like me to bring a resolution exactly like this one, except for section 6?
Do you
Or
all
do you
want
wanna
some
add-
time to be able to amend or add, or?
So maybe bring this
One,
back in November?
just a thought, look, we came up with this list for good reasons.
Yes.
I think this is a good list. The one thing that's come up that I think to comment on this year is the gutting of the growth management law resulted in lesser protections for what we used to call regionalism, the regional impacts from development. And we're obviously experiencing the results of this, where a neighbor takes actions that are deemed by a neighbor to be adverse in Virginia Key. If we wanted to include a legislative initiative to try to restore or reinforce to some degree or another what used to be the kind of regional protections that existed in state law.
DRI.
And it might not be DRI, it's not necessarily a restoration of that process, but there's sort of nothing at this point. And throughout the state, because of the work that I've been doing on the FRICA, this is happening a lot, and people are frustrated in Florida.
Well, Frank, if you want to take a stab at drafting a priority that reflects that, it's great, and maybe you can sell it to other communities through your work with committees. I support that. We can consider it and have discussion. We would maybe want to include it as section 6.
That's why I said, let's review and update.
So let's review and
'cause This
update.
document's almost a year old.
It's almost a year old. It's about 9 months old, but again, pretty much nothing happened on the state level.
Vice Mayor, can you forward your,
I'll write something.
thank you, to me? Thank you.
Can we add it for the next council meeting as a discussion item again, so we can, thank you.
The next item is, I believe, is the village manager's report. Prudence Gill artwork, Ghost Swamp. And for your information, Mrs. Valdez Fowley is here in case you have any questions for her.
So, Mayor and Council, if I may, I would direct you to tab 8. And it is recommended that the Village Council determine if the Ghost Swamp artwork attached as Exhibit A to this document should be purchased at a price of $99,100 based on the report prepared by the village's art consultant, Mr. Cesar Tobaeris. Funds are available for the Village Council's Art and Public Places budget. The artwork is presently installed in the office of the Mayor and Council. You'll see in the background that there's been a recommendation by the Art and Public Places. There are guidelines that the village should follow, and the appraisals were attached. And as you state, we have one of the appraisers here this evening. If you have questions specific to the purchase of this artwork, I'm going to let Judd be lead on this.
I understand the village has specific guidelines for the purchase of artwork.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, which include call to artists. A call to artists.
Okay.
It's included in the village guidelines.
We have used the call to artist procedure when they were soliciting our work. In this case, our artwork came to the village as opposed to the other way around. Our consultant, Cesar Trazaberes, used the call to artists guidelines to evaluate this particular artwork, and he found it was consistent with the work.
But doesn't it call to artists entertain that you're going to ask other artists to come and produce work for us to look at?
Yes, that's what we've done in the past, and that's when there is essentially the word
But was
call
it
to
done-
art.
was it
That's
done-
when the village is soliciting artist proposals.
Okay, but was it done this time?
Now, in this case, the artwork came to us, said, do you want to buy the artwork?
I understand, but I mean, you know, they can, if somebody wants to sell you artwork, they could always bring it to you, and it would always come to you. But the question is this the way that we should be doing it? Isn't there an established guidelines for how we should be buying art in the Village of Key Biscayne, and we should stick to that so that it doesn't change our system?
In this case, it was different than in previous cases. A call to artists was not issued.
I understand it was different in this case.
Right.
Now, I'm wondering why it was different.
The artwork came to the council. The council directed the Art and Public Places Board to prepare a recommendation.
Okay, but then there's no competitive bidding, quote unquote, I guess, in the art word. It would be called artists. So I'm concerned about the outward, how it looks to the people in the outside. You know, art is very subjective. So, I mean, I can go out there and I can tell you I like the piece or I don't like the piece. I don't think that's relevant, you know, in this case. But I do think that if we have established procedures, that we should follow those procedures to make sure that we make prudent purchases of art, you know. And that's what I'm concerned about, you know, because this was pointed out to me. I didn't even know that this is an issue. That was pointed out to me by a couple of residents, and I just want to make sure that we're doing the right thing, that's all.
Luis, I don't know, and I really don't know, whether that is a procedure that is never deviated from, or that has always been used, or is that is you know, the only operation. My understanding, and I know that different residents approached the council. I think we got emails, I think we got invitations, I think there were suggestions, and because we are not in the business of buying public art, and we have a committee that does that, and that has standards, and they evaluate it, that we tasked our committee, that is their exclusive role, to make that determination as they've done in the past. Now, I can tell you that for all our different artworks that we have procured for the village, I don't know that it's always been a call to artists. I don't know about that. But I can tell you that there is a process for determining whether the piece of art is, the artwork is suited for this village or not, and it went through that process. For whatever that's worth, that's, you know, the process. And Frank, I know that you want to comment.
Did City Lights came to us in not the same fashion, but not through the process that Luis is describing.
City Lights was for those of you who don't know, that was images cast on the fire.
But also the photographs that wasn't there a...
I'll get the photographs. The City Lights project was developed by the Art Board, and they found somebody to produce that work. The photographs, the Art Board found those photographs, and they purchased those photographs. But we're talking about substantially smaller amounts of money than what we're talking about. The call to artists for the Bedia 7 projects and the Sarah Morris were considerably more expensive.
And Jim Drain.
And the Jim Drain is considerably more expensive.
And what is that, what's the cost of those projects?
The Jim Drain is running about $75,000 to $85,000. The Sarah Morris was, I want to say, about $185,000 to $200,000, and the Bedia Plazas were maybe $150,000.
Can we have some help from the Knight Foundation on the Bedias?
We had the Knight Foundation support of one-half on the Bedia.
Dr.
The first of the first 5.
You wanted to comment.
You know, art is subjective, as Councilman De La Cruz said, and, you know, we all have artwork in our homes. I'm sorry, we all have artwork in our homes. I have artwork that I like. I don't like this. I mean, I don't want to be the guy who says the king has no clothes, and even if I do, it's just my opinion. But I don't like this piece, and I don't know where it would be displayed, and people who I've shown that piece didn't really care for it. So at the end of the day, it's up to this council to vote to spend the money or not. My vote would be no, just for that very base reason. And you know, I'm sure there are more learned people than me that would say, well, this would be a great purchase for the village. But at the end of the day, part of my job is just to say, you know, whether I think it'd be worth it or not. For me, it's not.
Mr. Kaplan, and then, I'm sorry, Jim, go.
I agree with both Lewis and Dr. Kelly on this issue. You know, if we allow an artist to come to the village and say, I want you to buy my piece, you know, and let's say we buy this particular piece, how many more artists are going to come to us and says, hey, buy my piece? So I think we got to have some guidelines, you know, as to how the process is, and clearly.
I think we do have the guidelines there.
Yeah, but you know, I think this came to us a little bit differently. My concern is also, you know, it's been in the council office now for a number of months. You know, if we buy the piece, where are we going to display it so the public can see it? At least, you know, with the murals that we have on the street corners, you know, granted, you have to be in an airplane to see it, but, you know, people walk on it and can see it that way. Same way in the Village Green, you know. Same way with the pools out here. You know, that's one of the complaints, that we have them, but no one can see them. So I'm concerned with this particular piece. Where in the heck are we going to put it that the public can enjoy it? And, you know, it always is in the eye of the beholder, and I'm kind of like Dr. Kelly. I don't particularly care for it, but that's my opinion. I'm just concerned that, you know, perhaps we shouldn't be buying this particular piece for $9,000. It may be worth that as far as the consultant's concerned, but that's just my opinion.
I don't ever think about, I mean, you do, because you know, if you want to purchase something, but the value of art is not in the price. I do like this piece, and that's the last reason I would think to purchase it, because my subjective assessment is as unimportant as yours, frankly. You know, the art board assesses these things however they come to us. They assessed this and they thought it was a worthwhile acquisition. The question of where to put it is, you know, all of the materials that we have from the city lights and the photographs and the Badia drawings are right now housed in BPZ, because, you know, we don't have a library yet, we don't have the new school yet, we don't have a place to put these things, but we will, and they'll go someplace. As far as the process goes, this came out to us as in an unusual way. I don't think that we have processes across the board. I don't think that we're well served by being slaves to them. And if there's a good reason to do something and it's outside of process, the fact that it's outside of process to me isn't the debarring principle. You know, I'd favor this. I think we should do this. Leaving it to our, as always, discretion. The next time something comes up, we either think it's a great idea or we don't do it. That's always our decision.
Yes, Mr. London.
The fact that the artist approached us rather than we go through normal procedure, I don't believe should be held against this piece or any other piece. I would encourage artists to bring forward to us. And then we have an art committee, and I certainly, as my wife would say, have no taste, and therefore I would never say I like it or I don't like it, but that's besides the point, because maybe it's wonderful and I still don't like it. But the fact is we have supposedly I guess a committee, art board, which is supposed to make decisions. They have a budget to spend, and if we like what they do, fine, we keep them as the art board. If we don't, we should get rid of them. But otherwise, I think they should make the decision. We should just ratify it, unless we see something totally wrong with it. I mean, again, not our taste, but a question of something other than that.
Did you want to comment, Luis?
No, I just, if we're going to do that, we're going to have a lot of artists.
So what?
You know, maybe that's the way we want to go. Maybe you want to do away with the original, you know, guidelines. I don't know. You know, I mean, I think that if we have guidelines, we should stick by them, and we should not make exceptions unless it's a particularly important situation that needs an exception, just like you like, competitive bidding in every contract, then, this is the type of competitive bidding that artists go through. Call to artists, this is what we want to purchase something like this, and invite people to bring in their art. I'm just telling you that I'm getting phone calls from people saying, why are we doing this different than the way that it should be? That's all.
Okay.
It doesn't matter.
That's fair.
It's a fair.
Well, that's fair, but the question is, then, should artists bring the stuff, and also we approach other artists, so when we make a selection, we consider them also?
Well, if we do this, then I can assure you that artists are going to start
Well,
bringing us.
But the answer to the question of why this is different is because it is different. I mean, do you just eliminate it because it came out of this
No,
from
I
the
think it should
Biscayne
be
Nature
put-
Center?
I think it should not be eliminated, but it should be put together with, let's call other people to bring,
That's fine.
to ask the other people to bring art, and then we'll make it, we can't buy all the art in the world.
No, but, we shouldn't dispense with the procedure. The procedure works very well for its purpose. This just isn't that thing. This is a different thing, as I see it.
Do we have a motion on the floor?
I move to acquire this piece of art for $9,100.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Please call the question.
Can I do roll call?
Sure.
Mayor Lindsay?
I vote yes because I am deferring to the opinion of our art board.
Councilmember London?
I agree with Mayor Lindsay. I don't like it, but if the art board says we should buy it, we'll buy it.
So is that a yes? Can you say yes, please?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Councilmember Tainter?
No.
Vice Mayor Kaplan?
Yes.
Councilmember De La Cruz?
No, and it has nothing to do with the artwork, the piece of art itself. You've heard my reasons, no.
No, thank you. And Councilmember Kelly?
No.
Motion fails.
Okay, fine. I don't like it anyway.
That
Motion adjourned.
concludes this evening's agenda.
Can I just say that on the issue of the noise, I was reminded that we were asked to look at the issue of noise about a year ago. It was noise with regard to engine noise from vessels, had nothing to do with boom boxes or partying noise. And the county has regulations on engine noise. We can enforce those on behalf of the county. But if you want us to look at the issue of partying noise and party boats, we will do that with the chief.
Please do.
Okay.
We would very much appreciate it.
Uh-huh.
I had a motion to adjourn in a second.
Second.
Motion, the meeting is adjourned.
Vote on it.
Thank you very much, and thank you for, thank you.
Just as a reminder to everyone.